What's up, everyone? CountBlagorath here today with an album review, this time of the 1991 Peaceville Records release of A Blaze in the Northern Sky by Darkthrone. This is part 1, or volume 1 I should say, of my Black Metal Essentials series. This will be an ongoing series. It may never actually end, because there's so many damn good albums out there, and I want to talk about some of the classics and some of the more unknown albums, and I'm going to be starting off with one of the most classic albums there is, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Darkthrone has been around since the late 80s. I believe they formed in 88, if memory serves me correctly, maybe a little bit earlier, possibly 87, as a straightforward old school Swedish death metal, almost technical death metal band. And they recorded 4 demos with this death metal style and a full length. And they recorded the Goat Lord album, which was a rehearsal tape with no vocals, and they didn't like it because they were tired of what death metal had become. Fenriz spoke many times about this, saying death metal became about politically correct things and wearing bright colored board shorts and all this stuff, and Fenriz did not like that, and neither did the guys in Darkthrone at the time. They lost one member, who I can't remember who it was offhand. I believe it was Dag Nielsen. He left, and Zephyrus stayed, Fenriz and Nocturno, and they sat down and they wrote A Blaze in the Northern Sky. This was really, at the time when it came out, something that was pretty much unheard of, except for bands outside of the realms of Root, Bathory, the Mayhem demo tapes, and the Death Crush album, and of course Live in Leipzig, which I consider to be one of the first black metal records, especially the Norwegian style. But for a studio album, this is where it all began. 1991, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Musically, this album is very stripped down, raw to the bone black metal. This is very, very blackened, very raw, very gritty, very hazy. Just overall a very dark and ominous record, and that's one of the many things I love about A Blaze in the Northern Sky. There's still some death metal elements to be heard, especially in some of the riffing and drumming. A lot of the drumming has a sort of death metal feel, which they do abandon on the following album, Under a Funeral Moon, and of course everyone knows Transylvanian Hunger and Panzerfaust. A Blaze in the Northern Sky is kind of the transition from death to black metal, and you can really hear something special starting to be brewed here. They're really starting to really hone in this very evil, ominous, almost frightening sound. On the first track, Catharian Life Code, there's a intro to it that is very, very dark, very ominous and brooding, and this vocal comes in, this really high-pitched croak, and just saying all this very eerie and frightening sounding things, and then just a holdout of a scream, and then boom, a black metal haze hits you. And for the following, that, if you consider that first one, for the following 5 tracks, it's just a non-stop assault of this very raw, fuzzed out, in-your-face black metal that does not seem to let up. The riffs have a very catchy sort of feel to them. Like the track In the Shadow of the Horns has one of the catchiest riffs you will ever hear. It gets stuck in everyone's head. The drum beat is very, very nice. I love it. It's easy to follow. It almost reminds me of Celtic Frost, especially on the early albums, in Hellhammer, like the track Buried and Forgotten. Really reminds me of that a lot, and if you know me, I'm a big fan of Hellhammer, so that's a very good thing. Now, another thing about this album is the bass. It's definitely there. and it's definitely down in the mix, but it's so fuzzed out it blends in with the guitar. What he's doing is really he's just sticking with pretty much what the guitar is doing. There's nothing special, nothing fancy about it. It's very stripped down. Any bit of technical skill that they showcased on the past album and what was going to be on the next album, because A Blaze in the Northern Sky was supposed to be a death metal album, so you do get these death metal bits and pieces thrown in there, but in the bass work it's very stripped down, and that's something I love about this, is just how stripped down it truly is. Another great song, of course, is Where the Cold Winds Blow, and I just love how dark and ominous and just fast and in your face this song is. And it really, in my opinion, if I was to introduce someone to Darkthrone, it would probably be either In the Shadow of the Horns, well, at least this album, In the Shadow of the Horns, Where the Cold Winds Blow, and of course, Blaze in the Northern Sky. Those tracks really showcase the very dark and ominous sound that they kind of carried on and honed in better as time progressed. And with this album, it's just a very, I can't emphasize this enough, raw piece of black metal. The drums, well played. A lot of death metal style drumming, like a lot of the Ride Bell single kick snare sort of thing that goes in a 4/4 fashion. That you hear a lot of on old school death metal albums, and even to this day a lot of death metal bands utilize that. You don't hear much of that in black metal, and that's one of the death metal elements. Also a lot of like more thrashier drum beats here and there that once again remind me of old school death metal, but they're played very well. The drums themselves sound very good. I am in love with the kick drum on this, and it's just got a lot of punch and impact, and it really makes the music that much more impactful. Vocally, these are some of the raspiest croaks you will ever hear. Just sounds like he's shredding his throat apart as he's just belting out these very hateful hymns to the northern sky, and I love it. I'm not going to give this a score because in my opinion it's nearly impossible to rate albums like this, but this is an album you need to have in your collection if you are a black metal fan or even starting to get into black metal. This is a great place if you're into death metal and you want to get into black metal. This is a great place to start. Just an absolutely awesome album. You can buy multiple versions of this. I know they just reissued this on CD with a bonus disc featuring commentary of Fenriz talking over the tracks, which I would love to hear. There's also a digipack reissue that's been around forever. Multiple CD versions, multiple vinyl versions. I have a CD version of it right here, but the guy never included a front booklet, but it is a first press. And I got this vinyl reissue. Peaceville put it out a couple years ago, limited to 2,000 copies. Very nice gatefold, some liner notes, and it is on a very nice clear vinyl. This is something that's worth your purchase. I can't give this a score, quite honestly, but this is a must-have. So definitely pick this up if you see it. If you see it online, order it. Great album. That's it for part 1 of my Black Metal Essentials series. Stick around for volume 2, which will be Under a Funeral Moon. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, keep it metal.